No, I'm not wearing shoes.
Are you gonna go put on shoes?
We go put on socks.
Out for the...
Hey everybody, welcome to another fun-filled episode of Mostly Harmless. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sarah.
And today we'll be talking about, once again, the curious case of Natalie Grace.
You guys, we went out and we pounded the pavement. I went to the grocery store. I noticed this as I was checking out. I was like, this will make us look super legit since we're going to revisit Natalia Grace. And doesn't it just?
I believe it does.
Yeah.
I read the article. If you've seen the show, there's very little new information.
There's no more legitimate source of information for Natalia Grace than here on the Mostly Harmless podcast.
The number one podcast listened to by people who want to know about Natalia Grace.
Dozens of people, yeah.
Tens, 11s of people.
Yeah.
So this shit is bananas.
Okay, so the last time we recorded, the final chapter, season 3, had not yet come out.
The shining golden wire of hope that was the man's family showed up.
Now it has, and boy, wow. You can't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody in this story.
Everyone who's participating in this story has got an ulterior motive.
I trust Vince.
Who's that?
The DePaul husband.
Yeah.
He's the only one with any sense. I cannot believe that this woman almost ruined her marriage.
No, she was going to ruin her marriage over this. She didn't have an issue.
TBD on that.
So
I doubt this is the final chapter.
No, nonsense. And everyone who's participating in this as a willing participant is scamming someone else because, I don't know what happened to Natalie, the mom, in this situation, but hold on, let's just cut this out. Just double check all the names are right in here.
Okay.
So I just don't want to get these people's names wrong because this story is it's knuckin' futs, man.
This is knuckin'
futs. All right, so you know what? We can just pick up from right here. Because to save you guys the reading of this article,
get cozy. Matt's just going to read you
ASMR
the People
going on right here.
magazine article.
Change the pages. I'm not going to read the article, but what is interesting about it is it says, 15 years, 3 families. But once again, there is a family that is conveniently left out of this in every other publication. The first family that adopted.
Brought her over.
So all they say is that it was essentially irreconcilable differences and they had to give her up, which is whatever. But it was the start, if not the catalyst, for this entire journey. And they are not mentioned. And I'm wondering if that is for legal reasons or not, because it seems like everyone, including People magazine, who just did an entire expose on this entire thing. They talked about the Mans, they talked about the Barnetts, or the Manses, and they talked about the DePauls. Mm-hmm. They said they won't even name they don't even mention it. It says Natalie Grace was adopted by Indiana couple Michael and Christine Barnett. That's where the story starts for them.
Yes.
And that's not where the story begins.
We are fact-checking People magazine over here.
So Natalie is the Natalie DePaul.
So she's the one we see rescue Natalia.
Right. They do this whole clandestine
under the cloak of darkness in the middle of the night. I don't know. It could have been 7 p.m.
It's daylight savings, so it could be whatever time.
But it was nighttime.
But so here's the thing. Again, we watch a story being told.
She puts her daughter out there, Mackenzie, as bait.
So
this is
no. Let's not even
legit rescue operation.
But it's not, because it's all shit. It's all bullshit, because they're like, oh man, it shows you that the DePauls are going to, quote unquote, rescue Natalia. She's going to sneak out in the middle of a church service and get in the car, and it's going to be this crazy thing. Oh no, we're show up around time. Maybe she's not going to be there. I don't see her. It's past the time we're supposed to meet. And then they do this thing right before commercial where they're, or this was the break between episodes. They do the, who are you? Who are you waiting for? Some guy comes out to the car, probably a fucking producer. I guarantee it because it's ridiculous. It's so, they literally go, who are you? What are you doing? Are you waiting for somebody? Do you know somebody here? And they're like shirking down in the back of the car. Like, oh my God. So that comes back to the beginning of the next episode. No mention of this person who supposedly confronted them. And when this person confronted them, they were like, oh no, we might not make it. We might not be able to get through now because this person might know the Manses. And that comes back from commercial and it's just Natalie getting into the car and getting away. No, like, oh my goodness, what, like there's a person, oh, we actually were approached and we were able to weasel our way out of it. No, it immediately goes to Natalia getting into the car and them leaving and then just being like, oh my God, guys, I can't believe I did that. And it's like, so you once again, just for stupid story's sake, it's not even a good story because you're not even keeping it up. It's a silly story that you're creating to invent drama in what is already a relatively dramatic situation. But it's like, you didn't reference it. You're telling me that the whole episode, there was no mention of, yeah, we actually were approached by someone. We're able to talk our way out of it. No. You had a PA or a producer come over and just fucking do this so that people would be hang on for the next episode. Like, we're not already wondering what's going on with this nonsense, this entire lifestyle of nonsense people.
I mean, who would have thought? And all we got was a cameo of Michael Barnett.
Spectacular.
That is honestly my biggest critique.
I gave all my money to the Wicked Witch.
Of final chapter.
The Wicked Witch.
Was there was not enough Michael, and I'm sure that he would have been game for some couch interviews to like supplement the story.
To do a little bit of this, like, she took all my money.
Who knew that Michael Barnett would look somewhat rational? Stop it. Would look somewhat rational.
Yeah, well, because here's the thing. Now we're going to deep dive into the saviors, the Manses. And
these people are evil.
So let me just tell you, these are two human scumbags that I despise. And I'm going to put a caveat on this because I think some people were trying to say that we were anti-religion or that we might not be religion people. I have a relationship with God. Sarah has a relationship with God. I am very vehemently against people who bastardize religion for their own gains.
This man, Bishop Antoine, is exactly who we are against.
He is collecting people to take their money from them, and it's just, you can tell because the hillbilly wife up there also is just always like, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. That's how she every time she gets into an argument, because this Natalie calls her, or not Natalie,
Natalia,
right? They call her all the time, and anytime it comes into like, hey, you said that you were going to pay for X, Y, and Z because that's all her money. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, or the devil is a liar, blah, blah, blah. And that's just someone who's never had to justify their actions because they get to tout themselves under the guise of, oh, I'm with the self-stated, self-named Bishop Mans. Yeah. And they even go in the show, they're like, because Michael brought up the point, well, he goes around calling himself Bishop, makes everybody call him Bishop, but I don't know where he got that name. And then they cut to them being like, the producers being like, hey, so where'd you get the name Bishop? And it's just like, oh, well, I've worked a long time doing all this stuff. And he comes up with this stupid excuse. And then the guy literally says, so you just kind of call yourself Bishop? And he's just like, well, if that's the way you want to put it. And it's just another shitty scumbag human being that is using religion to ruin people's lives and better their own. And this happens across the board. And I'm not anti-religion, but they're including major religions that use religion to throw things out there.
We are definitely not anti-religious. We're actually both fairly religious people.
But
we are anti-religious corruption.
Yeah, and it's just seeing
we're very vocal about that.
Seeing people just being like, oh, I'm doing this for God. No, you're doing it for yourself. You're a piece of shit, in my opinion, because you're going around saying how great of a person you are. Then meanwhile, we're hearing the aside things where they're recording them on the phone and they're just screaming about, you'll hear them say X, Y, and Z. And then when they get called on, they're like, I never said that. You know, the devil is a liar. They constantly say the devil is a liar. It's like, great. I didn't think we were talking about the devil. I thought we were talking about the fact that you're screwing Natalia out of her money.
Right, because we touched on so many topics. Natalie DePaul brought up, that the fact that they are medically neglecting Natalia.
She should have had surgeries, multiple surgeries.
What actually was really interesting about meeting Natalie and Vince DePaul is we get an insight into just really the cost.
I mean, their whole house is set up.
Their whole house is modified, which is, I'm sure, what cost a pretty penny.
Sure.
All the orthopedic surgeries that they've needed. They met at an orthopedic
It was like
office.
rehab, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, it was
it
was just their surgeon. They had the same.
Not like addiction rehab.
No,
I was thinking like rehab, like for surgery.
Like physical rehab. We get kind of an insight into just everything that goes into just getting by as a little person.
Right. And so they talk about this, and before they abscond with Natalia Grace, there's the conversation of how expensive it is for people with their varying conditions to exist, just simply to exist without pain. She was in the beginning of this recovering still throughout the entire thing from a recent back surgery.
Natalie was.
Natalie, yeah.
Yeah. So
not to be confused with Natalia, but that's a whole other animal. But they talk about this, and then we go into literally on the car ride back from, kidnapping her from the Manses.
What was
she is on the phone on this, and so the Mans family, Manses, I know it, there's a way to say it. I just say Mans. I'm just going to say Mans because that's how I'm going to say it. So the Mans family has never allowed throughout on this documentary, Natalia Grace was never given an ID, a government ID.
And I wish that we went into that more because I'm assuming that the reason why, because as an adult, she cognitively could be her own payee. I would assume, and maybe this is a wrong assumption, that the reason why she doesn't have an ID or didn't at the time had something to do with her legal re-aging.
I don't even know so much as that's not even what I was. My thing with that whole situation is when we were what I was talking about on the car ride home. They're on the phone talking about how, who's going to steal? Am I still your payee? And Natalia's like, yeah, you're still going to be my payee.
Yeah, but even at one point, Vince becomes her payee. So she's at this point 20 years old. Yeah. So she should be she's not a minor.
She's not in a conservatorship or anything like that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. She's not in a conservatorship. She was adopted by the Mans, but our parents don't receive our paychecks and there's no reason why Natalia would need a payee.
No, she was convinced.
The DePauls are fully functioning adults on their own,
the Mans family convinced her to sign over all of her money from a friend. She got a significant amount of money from appearances on Dr. Phil and other shows like that. The Mans used her money to buy a trailer and spend their money and live their style lives,
Yes. I think we should point out, because this is just so atrocious to me, the Antoine and Cynthia Mans don't work. They don't do anything for a living. They live off of collecting kids.
11 children, including Natalia Grace. 11. They had 10 children when they when they got Natalia. They adopted Natalia legally 10 years after that they had gotten together.
I feel like that should be illegal. I don't know.
There are ceremonial things so that you can adopt a 17-year-old to be okay, and it's I've seen it done more on a ceremonial basis to be you're our family, but that whole situation is just predatory.
No, but if you are a foster parent, don't you have to show some sort of income, job? Why would the state give you a child?
Because he's a bishop.
I don't understand that.
Because he's touting himself. He runs a church. Albeit a scummy church full of swindlers, like him and his wife, and he runs this church. So, if you look at it from the situation of like, oh, a religious person is going out of their way to take people off the burden of the system, it sounds really altruistic. And then it turns out, aside from all the money they get from their church, I'm assuming, which is because part of Natalia's Social Security or SSI was she says 10% was given to the church. And the producers are talking to her about this, and they're just like, oh, so, how much do you get? And she's like, oh, it's complicated. Well, what do you mean it's complicated? Well, I have to pay this, I have to do this. And of course, there's my tithing. And it's like that you give to the mans. Well, no, I give it to the church. You give it to Antoine, like you give it to him. No, it's to the church, but the church is him. He is the church. He started his own nonsense.
Right.
To
you're
take
not
advantage
giving
of
it
people.
to a Baptist church or a Catholic church.
Or what I would even consider to be an established religious.
Like an institution.
This might as well be in the back of a strip mall that it doesn't even have a sign. And it's ridiculous to me so that whole situation is great. You have a girl who already has, what did they call it? This reactive attachment disorder.
Oh, so yeah, I want to talk about that because So there are criticisms that I have of this series. One, I wish we would have dived into more of just the bureaucracy of Natalia's situation because why doesn't she have an ID? Why does she need a payee? Those are two things that I think we should have had answered.
I think she was conditioned to be told that. That's it.
But one of the things I really appreciated about this series is this third season is that the DePauls kind of open our world to the world of little people and what little people do to, exist in a world that was made for much bigger people than them. And Natalie was exactly right. Natalie knew that Natalia needed therapy. Natalie knew that she needed to discuss Natalia's circumstances with a professional, and she just so happens to know a therapist. Was this person a therapist? Who also is a little person. So this person not only knows about this reactive attachment disorder, but she knows about it through the lens of also being a little person. And I thought that was so great to hear from this woman.
Well, and so the reactive attachment disorder, from what I read and what I gleaned from the thing, is common in people who grow up in the system. It makes it hard for you to form bonds with your caretakers. And you
that
think
makes sense.
If you're being bounced around, let's just talk about foster care. If you're being bounced around from home to home, not being re-aged and shipped off everywhere, but just let's say under normal circumstances, the foster system is still a pinball machine until you're 18. And in most cases. And, it would be hard because every few years, every few months, depending, you're going to be getting a whole new caretaker. So the term, the mother father figure already didn't exist. Now a primary caregiver is not even a regular thing. You can't even count on one person always being there. Now that's something I will never have because I'm a grown man who grew up with a family. And that's so to understand that, not being able to put yourself in the shoes of someone who's gone through that is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But the one thing that Natalie, the mom, Natalie, did not seem to give any shits about was that I don't care what has happened to this girl growing up in all the nonsense in her life. She is a psychopath. And one of the things, I'm just going to go ahead and if you watch the documentary, Natalie talks to Natalia. They're sitting there and she goes, why are you still talking to them and giving them money or whatever? And Natalia goes, can we cut? And they don't cut because I'm sure they signed. I'm sure that the documentary was like, we record. This is how it goes. Because they don't cut. And She goes from being this normal girl on the couch to fucking Dennis Reynolds in the Making a Murderer episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. She turns to Natalia, and goes, she like, imagine her being like, just, and stares at her dead fucking face for literally, in the documentary, it was over 10 seconds. And then, why are you talking to me about this stuff? I said I didn't want to talk about this. So that girl on a fucking dime turns left and right. Yeah. And so you could, and again, when I say I don't care what happened to her, I genuinely care on a human level that sucks. But the manufactured psychopath that she has become, manufactured or otherwise, it's there. And you see it pure and simple in that moment in screen. And then you see it in little sprinkles throughout the thing. But that is literally... Can we cut? Yeah. And she looked like she was going to murder her for saying that.
And I think this is the essential conflict between Vince and Natalie that we see play out through these 4 episodes is I think Vince recognizes that this isn't a healthy or even maybe safe situation to bring Natalia into their home. And it's obviously disrupting the harmony of their family unit.
And their family seemed pretty well adjusted and together.
Yeah, but Natalie, for whatever reason, has all of this guilt. I think because they tried to adopt Natalia before she went to the Barnetts, I think Natalie, and I'm sorry,
very difficult to keep up.
Natalie is living in this world of what if. Like, what if we got her first? Would her life have turned out differently? Would her personality be different had she never gone to the Barnetts? Because I feel like she learned isolation and abandonment from the Barnetts, but she learned how to be a con artist at the man's household.
She says in one confessional while they're talking that she's like, I just can't be left again. Like, I just can't lose people again.
She literally was put in an apartment complex by herself at like 8 years old.
Oh, and that's when I was reading this. That's where she met the Mans. That's how they came to, first they were inviting her over, then they invited her to live with her, and she had to pay $250 a month for rent. This was all in the midst of whatever nonsense was going on legally with the Barnetts. And then they just said, oh, we're going to adopt you. We're going to be best friends. Can't wait to take all your money like I am with these other 10 children that aren't ours.
And I remember in season 2 of The Curious Case, I remember thinking, and I even went and I watched the Dr. Phil episode of Natalia where the Mans were on that. I remember thinking, like, Cynthia and Antoine are a little eccentric.
Listen, but, they seemed pretty normal.
Well-meaning enough. Yeah. And if Natalia was happy and she wasn't a minor living on her own, abandoned, then good for them. It always rubbed me the wrong way that they had all of these foster kids. And now in season 3, we meet some of these biological parents of some of these kids that are living at the Manses. And it seems like these kids are being mistreated, number one. Yeah. And number 2, it seems like the Manses have something that they're like blackmailing these people to like keep these kids in their possession.
So the one guy comes on and he's apparently is a sex offender, but his kid was, so, they don't explain what it was, and that's bad under its own thing. Yikes. But he's now raising his kid again. He's now with his kid, but his kid lived with the Mans for 3 years. And I don't think that was one of the 10 kids. I think the Mans just operate this, I'm going to take care of your kid.
This like daycare, right?
Because the 10 kids are their charges. Yeah. But this guy made it seem like it was a daycare service, essentially, that they could, and they're talking about how the kid is talking about how they would beat Natalia, they'd hit you with belts, all these things. And I'm like, that alone, the fact that this is out there and the government hasn't stepped in to stop these people from reaping benefits off of children is despicable to me. Because I'm like, in a situation where a perfectly normal family takes a kid with a bruise to the ER, they will separately talk to the kid to make sure that that kid is not going to be is not being abused at home. You know, like you see that where they talk to the kid separately and they're like, oh, no, we're going to talk to him because this bruise seems, and that's fine. I'm okay with that because if that catches even 1% of people who are abusing people.
Right.
You have an entire docuseries where there are people swearing up and down that children have been abused both sexually and physically in different mediums, not by the man sexually from what we heard, but other situations they had talked about throughout this docuseries. And not anything has been done to these people.
Yeah.
The devil is a liar. I rebuke you. Like, I guess that absolves you from all kind of legal recourse, but because they're a church or they're somehow a religious organization and they don't get to be tried on for any crimes against humanity that may have occurred under their charge, abusing religion for any situation they want to. But it's wild to me. It's wild to me.
It was so weird. And I had so many questions about. And Natalie, I would have loved, we do hear from Natalie. She kind of is like the main narrator of this chapter 3. But I wanted to know more about, okay, so she's in your house, you guys rescue her, and then it becomes very apparent that she is still she's still in contact with the Manses. At what point, why did you want her to stay so badly?
One of the things that they showed was it was like Christmas or something like that. And so they got some little gifts, but Natalie says, oh, you know what, Natalia, I'm going to give her some money. She says she has Cash App. So I sent her $100 on Cash App. And when you have Cash App, or at least from Venmo and other things that I've used, it will tell you, you can send it to a phone number. And when it goes through and it connects, it'll, if it didn't already have the contact information, it'll verify, like it'll say, this is so-and-so because it's sending money,
Right.
And so what happens is she sends $100 to Natalia and it ends up in the man's bank account.
Yeah, why?
But Natalia gave them that information for Cash App. So I'm going to give you $100. Okay, could you just send it to me Cash App? Oh, and meanwhile, it's really going to go to my other family. So one of my theories on this carnival of nonsense is that literally Natalia is scamming the DePauls. And there's a lot of evidence that says that this is the case. Yeah. She is still talking to the Mans family on a regular basis. She will not say a bad thing about the Mans on camera unless it's caught off camera. And
didn't Natalie say that she caught Natalia like recording the conversation?
They said that
something?
Natalia would. Yeah. It was, like with the sneakiness of my 5-year-old. They said that she would come out, wouldn't say anything, and she would just like leave her phone somewhere. And and they thought that either she was recording or that Cynthia was on the phone listening. And it's like, so my thoughts, and I'm pretty solid on this, is that a family says they want to take in Natalia. Well, we're getting all this money for SSI, but we're running low on cash because we're spending it faster than we can make it and all that other money. Nobody's paying us for appearances anymore because people are caring less and less about it because every time you show your face on TV, you seem very disingenuous. So how about we see what we can get out of this family? Any money they send you, you send our way. I'm still the payee on all of your Social Security checks for a long time after she was with these people. I'm saying, and then they have this conversation about taxes because guess what? I get the girl who was homeschooled by a bunch of idiots never was told how to do taxes.
Well, we actually see a clip of Cynthia, like, I don't know, that was posted to social media or something saying that she's like bragging about the fact that she doesn't pay tax. Again, where's the IRS? Where are the authorities? This lady
churches don't have to pay taxes.
This lady is bragging about not paying taxes.
Churches don't have to pay taxes. She is part of a religious organization, so she doesn't have to pay taxes.
Do you not have to pay taxes on the money you get as a foster parent?
It depends. I don't know how it works.
So
if you're
all of
lumping
their money is not taxable income, then I guess
I don't know how that works, but because that is money from the government, and it would seem. I don't know how that works. I'm not even going to speak on that part. But any money they make for appearances, if it's lumped in or paid to the order of Bishop Scammy McScammerston, then it's probably not taxable because churches don't have to pay taxes. But then they go on and Natalie calls up Cynthia and is like, hey, you told Natalia you were going to pay or help her pay all this tax liability that she has, which is not an incident. We don't get the number, but from knowing that it was at least $300,000 in appearance fees.
We were talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And appearance fees, if they fall under the same category of like a bonus and stuff like that, because they're not like labored income, you know what I mean? That's like 50%. I mean, it's less than that, but that's a high tax percentage.
I think that she probably was looking at being in a 24% marginal tax bracket.
And so she's calling and she's screaming at Cynthia. Well, they were having a conversation.
24% of $300,000.
$75,000. And
that is a big tax bill.
And it literally, she's like, you say you're going to help her. Well, I'm not doing that. I never said I would help her with that. I said we'd think about it. Meanwhile, this money is not their money. It's just her money in their bank account, which, by the way, possession is 9/10. So it is their money. If you have money in a bank account with your name on it, not hers, she has no legal recourse to that money. But the tax liability goes to the person who all those checks and stuff were made out to. So that she owes that tax, and the Manns do not owe that tax money. Now, there's all kinds of things, like you can't just give somebody $300,000. You have to pay taxes. Even if I were to hand Sarah $300,000, the government needs their bite of that transaction. That's a thing. So that's its own animal. I don't know how it works.
There's inheritance taxes,
capital gains
taxes. So the government will get theirs.
Except
either way, but it's going to be really sad. And I think we are left with the impression at the end of all of this that Natalia's her own payee now.
Well, so we'll even get to that. So that's the end of the whole nonsense.
No, but like presumably one would think things had been sorted out. I hope that we don't. The next thing is not Natalia Grace, white collar finance crimes.
Whatever. It wouldn't bother me in the least. She could go to jail for a little bit. That's fine. But
it wouldn't, genuinely, that wouldn't be her fault. It should be the Manses that are going to jail. But anyway.
It is what it is. But one of the things that they were talking about with taxes with her is they were having a conversation. One of the weird things off of this is every other time you would hear her talking to the Manns family, everything sounded normal. Oh, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And then the next phone call would just be like, I'm not going to talk to you about that. I said I want. And it's like, so obviously they're cutting up long periods of time.
Yeah.
But it is hard to hear because sometimes if you were to hear call A out of context, they sound like perfectly normal people, and call B, they sound like psychopaths. But from everything we know about them, they're horrible human beings. They were talking about, she calls so Natalia calls up Cynthia and is like, I guess found out that Cynthia had no intention of helping her whatsoever with any tax liability at all. And then they show this table where Natalie had set up a camera recording them at like the dinner table, and Natalia is like, oh my God, I can't believe it. What assholes. They're not going to pay a dime. I can't. And again, every time she seems to be blown away by something, sounds like she just fucking knew it the entire time and she's just trying to ham it up. Like she does not have a shred of any genuine emotion throughout this entire thing. It all just seems very fabricated. But there was a call that they did have where it was a very quick call where it goes, well, can I have some of the money? Says Natalia. And somebody's like, well, you can't have all of it, but how much were you thinking? And Natalia goes, like $25K. And Cynthia goes, okay, that's fine. And that was that phone call.
Yeah.
And so then they never discussed that again. So first of all, where did that money go? I'm hoping to taxes. But do you see how reasonable that call sounded? It was, can I have some money? Not all of it, but how much? $25K. Okay.
If someone owed you $1,000 and you were like, I'll take 10.
Yeah.
So that leads me to believe that if 25K was like, oh yeah, we'll give you that, then it was a lot more. I think more than $300,000.
Well, I'm also sure that she would not talk. Natalia would not say a bad thing about the Mans, except for, oh my God, I can't believe they're not going to do. It's like, yo, you can't believe they weren't going to help you pay your taxes when they didn't even explain to you how tax liability worked.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have sympathy. I have sympathy for the horrendous stuff that happened to her and the things that happened beyond her control. But they turned her into someone who is just not a great person. I'm sorry. She doesn't seem to have any. Then she's like, there was some video where this dude was talking about, they got a video where someone was talking about what they did to Natalie. I think it was Natalia.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. And Natalie goes up to Natalia's room and is like, hey, we're going to watch this video. Will you come down? And Natalia's like, no, I don't want to watch it. And they watch the video. And then immediately afterwards, Natalia goes, what did they say? Because I'll tell you the truth. What did the video say? I'll tell you the truth. It's like, first of all, why didn't you come? It was immediately after they watched the video, she came out. Well, why didn't you watch the video? Well, why are you going to now put it into context when you could have put it into context upon first watch?
Right.
Like again, all this stuff is real shady to me. And really, it may not be the way things ended, but absolutely started on Scam Central for let me take these people for as much money as I can get from them for the Mans. Like, and if I'm sorry, why would you give her Cynthia's Cash App? Like Cash App, literally, if you don't even have it, it's the phone number. You download it. You don't even have to have a bank account at first. You can send it to someone's phone number. Then they send you the link to get the app and link it to a bank account. But you can send anyone money. So she has a phone, which realistically, Natalie should have been like, this isn't your phone number. Right? Like if you text it to someone, she said I sent it, so I sent it to her number.
For example, I Zelle like everybody. So
to
like,
hear that, she Zells everyone.
I Zelle everyone.
Just reach out
when I set up our housekeeper, they gave me the cell phone number, and then it, like you said, after I set it up, it populated the business name and all of that. So maybe she gave Natalie a phone number. I don't know.
Well, but
it turned out to be Cynthia.
In the respects of a business, that makes a whole lot of sense. In the respects of a woman you just kidnapped away from her family, not in a nefarious way, but it's the best way to describe how she was taken. In the girl you just kidnapped, of which you have her phone number, you talk to her on her phone that she has in her possession, or a phone that you provided for her because she has a phone, right? I know your phone number. Okay. If you gave me a number that was not your phone number
to Cash
App, I'd be like, what the fuck is that? And she has Cynthia's phone number because they talk on the phone.
Yeah.
So there's something that's not connecting there either. And again, I don't think Natalie is 100% innocent in all this either.
No.
She literally, so her husband, who doesn't even seem to want to even participate in the filming of this because he's very, very rarely in it. And when he is, he's very reserved and very curt with everything he says. He said it's her or me, and the wife, Natalie, as far as we know, didn't even blink, saying, I need to save this girl. I need to save this kid who's not a child. She's a grown woman at this point, and technically at one point she was a grown woman before, but now she legally or otherwise is a grown woman. And she's like, I'm going to do this. And Sarah, if I told you it was me or something else and you just said it's something else, I said, well, bye then. That's your choice. I'm sorry. Like, there are few, if any, things I could think of that it would be that or me in this life. I can't think of one right now. But if I ever got to the point where I had to tell you it was that or me, and you even vacillated on whether or not, like, I'm not even, you could even, if you took even a minute to say, oh, well, let me think about it, that's enough for me to know that you don't care about me enough to cover that spread.
Yeah, I felt so bad for Vince.
And
I felt so bad for Mackenzie. And I do feel bad for Natalie too, but yeah,
this is not a child.
I put some of the culpability on this bizarre dynamic on her. She was engaging in arguments with Cynthia. It's like, what is going on? Like, what is happening?
It would be it's, for instance, sometimes I'm not super pushy. Let's say if I'm talking to like someone I'm having do work on our lawn or something like that. So after me trying to get something where they're not giving me what I'm supposed to be getting, sometimes I got to call on the big guns. I got to get Sarah on the phone with them because I know that Sarah won't let them off the hook without, getting me my money back or otherwise. And it would be the same thing where Natalia would basically go and talk to the mans about what she was supposed to be talking about. And if it wasn't to Natalie's liking, she would basically call them back and be like, hey, hold on. One more thing. I have a bunch of shit to tell you about this. Or you just bold-faced lied to her, and that's not the situation. And so, again, I don't know what happened to Natalie, and I don't know what her responsibility in all this situation is, but she literally was pushing her own family away. They have her and her daughter. Yeah. Her and her daughter are out. Her daughter's in college and stays there, from what I gleaned from this. And she's out in the backyard with her daughter, and she just goes, I noticed you haven't been coming home as often. Yeah. It's like, bitch, you think? Like, you brought someone who, it's not like all of this information was not available prior to this documentary. Like, this isn't like when you do a documentary and these people haven't seen the previous documentary. This stuff has all been bought and paid for. Yeah. That she was accused of holding a knife, poisoning, pushing into electric fence, having all these weird, uncomfortable situations with underage things, all these things that were documented about this person. You brought that person into our lives, and she is acting like, I need to save this child. Well, the child is long gone, Natalie. And I'm sorry to say, that innocence was lost around the time she was re-aged. Probably was lost around the time she was given up. It says in that article that her birth mother, who they have talked to her, like, they know who it is. They located her. Her birth mother gave her up because of the dwarfism, straight up. So, fuck, I don't want this kid. Get it out. So it wouldn't surprise me if all that innocence went way back there. But that child has been gone a long time.
Personally, I think Natalie is still trying to save that child. And it's almost costing her family. Because
I cannot believe that. And again, Vince is the husband. Yeah. Vince seems like a very collected, calm, and level-headed person.
He doesn't seem easily ruffled.
Nope. He seems, and when he says that it put him to the edge, he said he was thinking about, he was almost in the process of leaving. That was it. Yeah. And then he stuck around because he loves his wife. And it's like, wow, man, to push someone to that point. And then it's like that for yourself, you have to understand that puts you in a situation where now you've lost respect for yourself. Because if I put that there where it's me or them, and then you pick them and I still stick around, now I basically made a bet against myself and I lost. Mm-hmm. And I have to live with the fact that I said that I'm going to leave and I'm not going to. So how much more shit am I going to eat? Because now she knows that that's not enough. This was something that was a marriage ending decision that I ended up eating shit and sticking around for. Now, what else? Now every argument could just be ended. Well, you didn't leave then. Are you going to leave now? That's not the relationship it seemed like they have. But they said that they were like it was hard for him to even talk to her after that for a while. Like the tension in the house was palpable.
I almost feel like I need another season.
I would. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
I'm into it. I'm clearly, to me, the Manses are vying for some sort of reality show.
I think the reality show is 90 Days After Lockup or before Lockup, because they're awful fucking human beings.
Yeah, I think Natalia would totally participate in a reality show. I honestly don't begrudge that for Natalia. No. The Manses, I think, are legit criminals.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Abuse is not cool.
No, and we've heard physical described. They're obviously
mental
financially
abuse as well.
Yeah, they're robbing her.
Yeah.
It's all very uncomfy. They need to be investigated. I definitely don't. I know that this season was called The Final Chapter, and I really don't think that it is.
I doubt it. Listen, as long as there's a cow, there's going to be milk.
Yeah, there'll be some sort of spinoff. Maybe it won't be on Investigation Discovery. It seems like Lifetime, because they're the network that does the Gypsy Rose reality show. I'm sure they would pick up a reality show surrounding Natalia. TLC probably would. I
don't know. I find the whole Gypsy Rose
thing
to
be come on
stupid.
after Sister Wives at like midnight. Because Sister Wives is on at like 10.
They should bring those shows a little earlier for some of us parents out here who sleep. 8 o'clock is late. And that's not until 10.
And they have to do 90 Day Fiance.
Oh, shit. We have to do that after this, huh?
Yeah.
I really think the only innocent person in this was the daughter,
Mackenzie,
mm-hmm. and the husband, Vince. The only two people who see, and you know why they seem innocent? Because they both seem they're there begrudgingly because of their mom, who's forcing them to do it. Their mom and wife.
For the ride, yeah.
And they are saying as little as possible that is not required of them to be there for exposition.
And I will say, I think the smartest people in this whole saga were the original adoptive family, the Chaconies. We at least know their names. That's about all we know.
People magazine them. Wouldn't tell you that, because according to People, they never even existed.
And then Christine Barnett.
Yep.
She never participated in any of this. And
the Wicked Witch.
Right. And how it had she, because look at what happened with the Mans. The Manses. I say the Mans.
That's how I would say the Mans.
Look what happened with them. The perception of them completely shifted the longer they were on our television screen.
Right, because when they were in the thing where Michael confronted Natalia and they had their big tete-a-tete and all that, and it was Bishop Mans brought Natalia the Lord and she taught forgiveness and all this stuff, and it sounded great. Yeah, it sounded preachy, but it's gonna be preachy coming from a preacher of sorts.
Right.
And then at the end, we need to get this girl out of our house. She is doing blah blah blah. She's nonsense, people. And it's like, something
about
went
going
wrong.
to hell with fire panties on.
She's gonna be going to hell with panties made of gasoline
or something.
And that alone, comments like that are fucking weird.
Yes,
by the way.
Yes.
It's odd that you would talk about your child, adopted or otherwise, underwear or proclivities like that. Like, it's just strange. And it's just like, that's not the first time you've ever said that.
Feel like
that's got to be in your repertoire of things that you say.
I feel like that's a saying that he has.
I've got to be him, because I've never heard that before.
No.
I mean, I could see how the logic works, fire, gasoline, whatever. But I don't know, I've never heard it before. But that guy is just grade A bullshit artist. And,
yes.
And his wife is just horrible. She's just a horrible, horrible woman. I don't like every conversation she has. Then she goes on her lives, and she just brags about not paying taxes. And then she's like, Natalia didn't want me to talk about her on any of these social medias, and I hope she knows that she can't talk about us and we'll stop. She literally does a video where she's like, well, we won't talk about Natalia as long as she shuts up about us. And we notice that Natalia doesn't say boo about these people, because she's sitting there being like, Natalie's like, you told people that you were hurt and this, that, and the other thing. And she's just like, I never said any of that stuff. And then it's like, well, we could just roll back 5 minutes where you are right here saying it.
Yeah.
Like, so again, you can't call this girl innocent. Like, she contradicts herself. I said this last episode about this stuff. She will flat out deny saying things. And then they go that she was in some sort of mental institution or in a lobby of a psychiatric hospital of some kind. And someone alleged that she was taking off all of her clothes on a table and saying sexually explicit things to people. And she's just like, I never do that. I would never do something like that. I mean, those places have to have cameras. If there's any evidence of that, I'd love to see it. If I would never say, and then she goes, and if I did say something like that, it's probably because I heard it from someone. I wouldn't know anything about that. I was exposed to sexual things at a very young age. And it's like, so did you not say it? Do you not remember saying it? Did it never happen? Or are you just saying if Pixar it didn't happen, which is what it really is sounding like you're saying.
Yeah.
And any hospital or psychiatric place worth 2 cents is not just going to hand over to a documentary crew camera footage of other patients.
Right.
So like, yes, Natalia can say she wants hers and sign off on it, but the 20 some odd other people in the lobby would all have to also consent to that. So when she's like, Pixar it didn't happen, it's like, no, it's just, you're basically asking for a bank to open up the vault for you because you're saying that you have something in there that's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so all this nonsense piles up into a huge question mark of like, there's no question in my mind that she is a person with low moral character at this point.
Which one? Who?
Natalia Grace. Like, she just seems like she will.
Unfortunately, because it literally, when you have that nature versus nurture discussion, I feel like Natalia, like who Natalia is now, she is very much a product of her circumstances.
Sure. Yep.
I really do not feel that Natalia would be who she is today, personality-wise, if she perhaps was, and maybe not by the DePauls, but maybe just a different family.
No, just
other than the Barnetts.
If the DePauls got through her in time, just like you said, it might have been different.
Yeah.
But
well, something like they were all set to adopt her.
Something
and
happened.
Then something fell through. I forget. I would have to go back and
say what you will. Get there as you do. She is a product of what she was. Like, she is the sum of all of her parts.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, just because you were abused and all that stuff, and it sucks and that's horrible, but it doesn't excuse the fact that you are a manipulator.
Well, she needs to work with,
and she refuses to go to therapy.
She needs to work with like trauma therapists. She needs to work with people who specialize in that react, and then whatever, because what we learned from that therapist is that RAD is like the base, and then other disorders kind of evolve out of that.
And she diagnosed her with RAD, not having her as a client. Like, she, based on just the information that Natalie gave her, because she says that Natalie wants her to go to therapy. Natalia refuses to go to therapy. So that like, there's all kinds of disorders she might be having, but you can't just diagnose someone based on how the editing team decided to edit the documentary.
I think at the bare minimum where Natalia needs to start is with a trauma therapist, because Natalia has gone through some shit that
I'm happy that
people don't typically go through, and someone needs to walk that journey with her who's a professional, a mental health professional.
It says at the end of the article in People Save You the $6.99 that
is that how much a magazine is?
It says it right there, $6.99. Says that she now is in charge of her own finances.
Okay, that's good.
And that she's making her steps to get her driver's license and to be able to live independently. Great. Fantastic. I still worry about her out there in the world. And I don't worry about her. I worry about what chaos she brings with her everywhere she ends up.
Because she seems to be kind of a storm. Like, she is a whole weather system in people's lives.
Yep.
So,
she's a force. And it is terrifying to think about like what is next? What is next for her? How do you go from where you are to where you want to be? Where do you want to be, Natalia? Like, what are your goals? Because she doesn't really set forth any long terms. You know, she's going to
potentially being a parent one day.
Right. So she went. Yeah. So she went to England to visit.
Oh yes, Neil. We didn't even talk about Neil. Neil's really like the.
He's the one who called
unidentified savior of all of this.
He called the DePauls to start the whole boulder rolling to get them to get her to escape.
Yes.
This because of all the abuse. And then again, he's even on the phone with her being like, why are you telling these people that nothing happened to you? Like they changed his voice for the documentary for some reason, but obviously he's still English. You can't change the accent. But like... He's literally like, why are you telling these people that nothing happened? Why are you saying there's no abuse? You told me this. You've told me this. You're now lying. You know what I mean? Like, and so hopefully that's a good force. She's visited him now. She's gone out there. She has expressed an interest in having a family and married. And that's what the end of the article says. They are not engaged or anything like that. But that's one of her goals out there, notwithstanding, obviously, like figuring out life and everything else after where she is right now. But it is like, I don't know. Only judging from what the information that we all have access to the same information. I wouldn't want her around any kids. And I mean, I'm not one to tell people how to live their lives, but like, unless she has gone to extensive amounts of therapy, I don't know how well you can disassociate your trauma while trying to raise kids. And as we all know, anyone here who raises kids, you're constantly vomiting your trauma all over your kids. That's what happens.
Yes.
Like, and not all of us have been pawned around the country and otherwise with people who have been abusing us physically, financially, and emotionally. And then some, and then more. Like that's a crazy amount of shit. Like that's hard to think about. That's really difficult to think about a human going through that. But it is like looking at where she is at last glance. I do not see someone who is eliciting my sympathy. That look she gave to Natalie means that imagine her kid says the wrong thing to her at the wrong time. And she shoots that death stare at her where it looked like she was going to literally murder Natalie.
And really, she learned how to parent in the man's household.
Yeah, she helped raise 3 younger. When she was there at 9, she was brought in, not adopted. I think she was adopted at like 18 or 19.
Yeah, something like that.
When she was there at 9, she was raising. They brought her in to raise. It's a kids raising kids nonsense. Like, we're having so many kids that some of the kids have to raise the other kids. Well, that's not really how I think it should go. That's my own school of thought. But you definitely don't bring a random person in to raise your 3 youngest. A 9-year-old kid with problems, mental and physical problems, raising, and again, I've never held a knife. And then 10 interviews earlier, I hid knives under my pillow. I hid knives under my bed. She goes to the point to say, I was reading this whole article again. She's like, they said that I held a knife at the end of the bed. Look at my hands. I can't even hold a knife. What are you talking about? And then she's writing with a pencil and pen, so you can hold a knife. I'm sorry. That's just a silly fucking thing to say. And B, you then go on to tell people that you've been hiding knives everywhere. So like, there's something wrong with you. Like you are trying to cover your tracks, not thinking that you have it out there, that you've already admitted that you had this stuff, you know? Like, it's just, she's a scary individual. And I think that she should be closely monitored. I think the mans should be arrested.
Yeah.
I think any child in their care should be put immediately out of their care, because I wouldn't consider what they do to be care. It's just, so if you think about I think one time, I don't know what the state it was, but I think the going fostering rate was like $600 a child or something like that.
Oh,
I'm just saying this is what I heard. It could be wrong. It could be years old. It could be old information, but something like that.
Like a month or something?
Yeah. Like yeah. So like that's your stipend for that. Now you have 10 kids. That's $6,000 a month. That's more than most people's salaries. So when you're wondering how the mans don't have to work, well, if you're being $6,000, let's just assume because he's a bishop and they don't pay taxes, let's assuming it's tax-free, $6,000 a month. That's a lot of money. That's $72,000 a year. It's not a rich person's amount of money. That's plenty of money to live in a trailer. And where in your trailer are you hiding these 10 kids? Where are they living? Right?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work? There's a lot of unanswered questions. All the questions I have amount to how any of these people are where they are. Michael was my favorite person because he's just a crazy person and he's a child. Like when he showed up in his red shirt, backwards hat, his red sneakers, in his red Corvette that I'm assuming he rented. I don't know if he has that or not. But like when he did that last interview and he just strolls up dressed like a 14-year-old who got money to buy whatever they wanted at the store. Mm-hmm. You know, like he's a kooky guy. He's got problems. They both have the same monster, Christine.
Yeah.
But whatever. The mans are both just like evil human beings.
Yeah.
And please, I will say this. I guarantee they're not going to see this. They're never going to watch it. But reach out. I'm happy to interview you. Prove me wrong. I dare you.
All right, Matt. Final thoughts?
I think I just gave all my final thoughts. These people are kooky. They all deserve to be looked at closely.
Will you watch another season if they get picked up on?
Yeah, because listen,
network?
you know, it's the same as when people are, I'm gonna boycott this. Well, the show's already on. It's not like you watching it or not watching it. It's already going to be on. If they make another season, I'll probably watch it.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see where this story goes next. Your thoughts?
Oh, I'm in it. Give me another season. I'm hooked. I want the mans investigated.
Yeah, but they never will. That's the problem with these people.
I want to see a 90 Day Fiancé situation with Neil from the UK. Bring him over, put him on camera if he wants to be.
Apparently, he did not want to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
His voice did not want to be.
I know. So.
And that's why when they were like, we changed.
There's so much happening. I mean, this story really has it all. We have an international lover. We have how many adopted families? We have crimes being committed.
See, this is the Batman that I want the prequel to. Like, I want the Batman Begins of this first family. Like, because how fucked up was that family? Or were they completely normal? And maybe, and normal being relative, obviously, maybe they were a completely benign family and they realized upon getting a child with such physical needs, they realized maybe that they were unable to provide what the child needed and had to give her up for adoption again. Maybe that's the case because
something in them looking for a new home for her had to do with behavioral issues with Natalia.
No.
For sure. So
I would be interested in that story.
Yeah, exactly.
That whatever they have done to prevent them there has to be neither ID or people has gotten any information on these people or is releasing any information about these people. They did say the names because I did not know their names. Mm-hmm. But like there's something that's odd that's essentially point A in the story and we skip right over that to point B.
Yeah.
And there were problems there and there were exponentially more problems there and exponentially more problems there. So I'd love to see what the start was.
Yeah.
You know, but it is what it is. We got to get going. We got the kids, got to get wrapped up here so we can go put them where they need to be. One of them's asleep. The other one's going to be soon. So we got to go and check us out. Follow us on all the social medias. Go to www.level42studios.com. Find us at Do Mostly No Harm across the board. Check out Sarah's Reality Squad show today, if you see it.
Because this will come out on Monday, so
and
later
that,
tonight.
As always, do mostly
no harm. Have a good one, you guys. Bye.